Hi, my name's John Franco, and you are now watching Grown Up Italian.
Grown Up Italian.
Growing Up Italian. Growing Up Italian podcast.
Growing Up Italian.
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 Growing Up Italian podcast.
Growing Up Italian.
Growing Up Italian.
Growing Up Italian podcast.
Growing Up Italian. Woo!
But do you remember the first one you did with Sabino?
In the restaurant.
It was I was behind the scenes down. I got promoted to.
You got promoted. You got bumped
You don't
up.
shine shoes no more.
He got bumped up.
No, but you know it's. I remember
He
when.
got his button.
You know, no, it's like I saw on YouTube. It was 4 years ago. Yeah, because we're like 300 something episodes every week. So if you do the math, it's 5 years, 6 years we've been doing this. I saw it was 4 years ago for some reason. I think it was around the 30th episode, something like that. But yeah, and you know,
It was a while ago.
Well, you started out small, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, boom.
yeah, we didn't skip any steps.
2 million followers. Wow.
Yeah, on Instagram we're almost at 2 million. Facebook, when you add it up, it's like 700,000. TikTok, all together, it's like 5 million.
Good for you. Good for
So
you guys.
That's good. It's good. All for the culture. So that's good.
But yeah, so I remember last time we saw you, you were at the IABF golf tournament, and your daughter, I think, his daughter posted a video of like every year of your baseball career.
Yeah,
and it was viral on TikTok, and I was like, I told you about it when I saw you. I was like, I love that video.
My daughter Ella, my youngest one, she did that. She busts my balls a lot. She goes. I know. Daddy Uber, that's what it is.
So you grew up in Gravesend, Brooklyn.
Gravesend and Brook. I grew up in the Marlboro Projects.
In Gravesend.
Yeah.
What was that like growing up?
It was great. It was a lot of fun. Really a lot of fun. We close-knit build. I lived on the 7th floor. One of my best friends lived on the 1st floor. Everybody looked out for each other.
Your Italian roots, where does the Franco family come from in Italy?
Well, I'm 3rd generation here, but my father's Sicily, mother's Naples.
Okay.
My wife is 1st generation, so we go back.
So you freshened up a little bit.
I go back to Italy every year with my wife.
Oh, yeah?
So she takes us all around. She's awesome.
So you know, Rose is from Caggiano, which is
Caggiano, yeah.
So you guys know.
That's from where. That's like where we're
so
from.
he has similar roots. She has very similar roots
Yeah.
to us. He's been around there. Just so you.
So
guys
you
know.
visit Vallo di Diano a lot, like that area.
I've hit everything. I follow her. We did that. We did Sicily. I drove there. One year I remember I was driving to Naples, and I said I'm going to kill somebody because the way they everybody's.
Yeah.
And then I just said I'm going to drive like I'm driving New York. Just be aggressive. And her father was like, don't go to Naples with your rings and your watches. They'll rip you off. I said, yeah, okay, whatever. We just.
Now, but Naples, it's crazy. There's literally like one red light in the whole town,
And there's the
and
whole
that like
square.
yeah.
I remember my mother-in-law was wearing a Rolex watch, and we went to go get this Fuyadel's, this famous place in Naples. And the guy was like, Psst, Signora, he told her in Italian, take your watch off, they'll rip it off, My mother-in-law said, it's fake, I got it from Canal Street.
They'll still rip it off though, and figure it out later.
My father-in-law used to get like 6 or 7 of them from Canal Street and give them out to everybody in Italy.
That's classic. Yeah. So did you like visiting Naples though? Besides it being a little dangerous?
It was funny because once I retired in 2000 July. I got released in 2005, so I gave myself like a month if I was going to get picked up by anybody else. And a couple of the Yankees were interested, and the St. Louis Cardinals, but they wanted me to go back down to the minor leagues. I'm not going to minor. I'm 44 years old. I'm not going down. I said the big leagues or whatever. And I'd never been to Italy. And the first time I've been to Italy was August 1st. I didn't get picked up. August 3rd, I was in Italy. And then
Nice.
I got a call from the WBC. Matt Galante was going to be manager for the Italian team.
What year was this?
2005. So Matt Galante was going to be the manager of 2006 for the World Classic, the first one.
Well, let's switch this one with Rocco's real quick because that one keeps falling.
Don't worry about it. It's fucking.
Sorry about that.
And then
I see him struggling.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
And Matt had asked me to be his pitching coach, and I said, "Oh, what a coincidence!" I said, "I'm standing in my wife's father's villa, looking at the vineyards and the olive trees." I said, "Sure, I'll do it." So and that was the first
So
time.
you didn't get picked up, but then you were playing with the WBC team,
No, I was pitching coach.
pitching coach. Okay.
Yeah, I got released, and then that was it. After August 1st, I decided to call it quits, and then the following spring, I went to spring training for the WBC pitching coach, the first pitching coach that they
I want to take a couple of steps back before we start talking about the Italian national team and everything. So growing up in Gravesend, then I saw you went to St. John's. How was that being like a local kid playing for the local school? Like, what made you pick St. John's?
Well, it's funny. I was going to. I got recruited to CW Post. My college coach, high school coach, played for CW Post coach. He used to be the coach at LIU years ago. Dick Vinan, his name was. And the day before recruiting, so I went out to CW Post to have dinner with him and another one of the players on our team, a kid named Danny Zapula. We sat down. I was all set to go to CW Post, and the next day I was pitching in a playoff game against John Jay High School. The pitcher for John Jay High School was a guy named Louis Figueroa, who was highly touted, really, really good. Got drafted, I believe, by the Yankees. I went mano-mano with him. I beat him 2-1 in 8 innings. Right after the game, the coach from St. John's was there, and the only reason why St. John's was there because 2 of the guys I played sandlap ball with for Ty Cobbs told him, to go check him out. So I pitched. After the game, he came in the locker room. He introduced himself. He said, "I'd like to give you a full scholarship to St. John's." I said,
That's all it takes.
and that's all it took.
It was that easy, and
Back then, yeah, it was that easy. So I took a full scholarship to St. John's, and it was great. I mean, the friendship I have with the guys there now is unbelievable. I mean, we still have group texts. We go to 2 or 3 basketball games a year.
oh, that's nice.
It's nice. And I was the only freshman in the history of St. John's to pitch 2 no-hitters.
Wow.
Amazing.
But the only thing I regret, I got hurt my sophomore year, and we went to the College World Series, and I wasn't able to pitch in the College World Series. I think if I was able to pitch, we had a good chance of winning, because Frank Viola is my teammate, and he beat Arizona the first game, and I would have pitched the second game, which was against Hawaii. We wound up losing. The next 2 games got eliminated, and then Arizona came back and won the whole thing. So that was Francona was on that team. Francona, they have this guy named Wes Clemens. They're a pretty good team.
You started out always as a pitcher? Your whole life you were a pitcher?
Well, in Little League,
Yeah.
left-handed shortstop, center fielder, stuff like that. But I started pitching a lot, probably around. I always pitched in Little League, yeah, but just mainly pitching was probably around 15, 16.
I wanted to ask you, just because you have so much experience in this. Growing up, I always wanted to pitch. And I used to mess around throwing breaking balls. And everybody would say, oh, it's bad for your elbow. This was like when I was 10, 11. I was obsessed with baseball. You think it's better if kids start playing a little later, like in their teens, or the younger the better? Like, how exactly does that work?
I think the younger the better. I mean, if you obviously
You can't throw the curveball.
the problem is I found out I saw with my own son, and then after him watching, was that these Little League coaches, all they want to do is win.
Right.
They don't want to teach, and to have a 10-year-old kid throwing curveballs, your tendons and ligaments aren't developed yet, and you're still wear and tear on that. It's really stressful for them. They can get this I forgot the elbow, some type of elbow they call it, like almost like a tennis elbow, which are very painful for the kids. I mean, I had Tommy John surgery at 41 years old with that. Really, then in high school I threw basically fastball and a little cutter. But you could always teach, like my son was a pitcher, I taught my son how to grip the ball differently and how to make it move. So you don't have to throw a curveball. You can throw, with the horseshoe, across the seams, with the seams, all kinds of and the ball will move different ways.
And how hard did you throw in high school? Do you remember?
High school, I was probably in the upper 80s. And then college, the best thing for me, I was pissed off that I didn't get drafted out of high school, but it was the best thing that happened to me.
So you got drafted while you were at St. John's?
Yeah.
To the Reds?
Dodgers.
Oh, the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And then they traded you to the Reds?
Yeah.
Wow. So you made your debut when you were 24.
I was 1984 to 23.
23. So how long were you in the Reds, like farm system?
So I was in
before
the
you made your
Dodgers. I was in the Dodgers for 1981, and I got traded in May of '83.
Okay.
And then the following spring, went to spring training with the Reds. Got sent down for 2 weeks, and then got called up on my wife's birthday. So I can't forget that. So it's funny because I got 4. Her birthday is April 24th, and my save total is 424. 424.
That's special.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's destiny.
424.
That's destiny right there.
That's a good way for us to remember it too.
Yeah.
But so how did closing start for you?
That's what I was
When
going
I I came up with Cincinnati, I was middle relief, and we had a guy named Ted Power. But before Ted Power was Tom Hume, who I love to this day. He's my guy. He taught me everything. I would sit on the plane next to him and just pick his brain. And he was the closer, and I never forget in spring training for the Reds, he had a team barbecue at his place, and he was shucking oysters, and I said, I never had oysters, shucking, try it. And I saw the Fireman Old Age Relief Man Award in his trophy case. I said, man, I'd love to win one of those one day. And I just sat down next to him, and he was towards the end of his career. And then this guy named Ted Powell was the closer, and then he wound up getting hurt. And I was middle relieved and set up, and then just gradually, got into that. Because I pitched like 101 innings, 190-something innings, 70 appearances. You don't see that no more, these guys. So, and then Pete Rose took over, and that was great. And he was a great manager, and it's all history from there.
You were with the Reds for the beginning of the year for like how many years?
6 years.
And then how did you actually get to the Mets? Was it a trade?
I got traded, so that I was in December of '89. I got traded, but leading up to that, there was still speculations in the paper I was going to get traded to the Yankees. Wow! And I remember the general manager for the Reds, Murray Cook, had called me and said, "Hey, we want to offer you a 3-year deal. What are you looking for?" And I said, "I don't know. I really haven't sat down and talked to my agent about it." And that was like a week before the winter meetings. Mm-hmm. And then he called me again. He said, I'm going to the winter meetings, but I want you to have lunch with Lou Pernella at the Short Hills Mall. Because Lou was in New Jersey at the time. So I said, all right.
Was he the Yankees manager at the time?
No, he was the Reds manager. He just became the Reds manager. Okay. They just announced it. And I said, sure. So let me know. He said, when we get back from the winter meetings, we'll set it up. I said, okay. So then winter meetings comes. I get a phone call from Murray Cook. He said, you've been traded to New York. And I said, oh, okay, great. Me just thinking it was the Yankees, and I just, okay, thank you, and hung up. And then Marge Schott called, who was the owner of the Reds, and she didn't even know my name. She said, honey, I'm sorry to see you go. So I just put my wife on the phone with her. I just talked to her. I don't want to give a shit. And then 10 minutes later, Joe McIlvain, the general manager for the Mets, called up, and I was like shocked because I thought it was the Yankees. Mm-hmm. And had a big party that night because I grew up a Met fan. And this, I remember playing in Cincinnati. We had 4 or 5 guys from the Cincinnati area. Barry Larkin, Paul O'Neill, Buddy Bell, Ron Oster. And they were all playing for the home team. And I said, man, it would be great playing for your home team.
Nothing like it, right?
It has its advantages and disadvantages.
Sure. What was the biggest differences from playing in Cincinnati and coming back here? And
well, obviously the press coverage, the media. I mean, in Cincinnati, you had 2 newspapers, 2 local TVs, and maybe 1 columnist there. And you get traded, you come to New York, you have all the newspapers, right? You have 6 or 7 newspapers. Those are reported, the everyday writers. Then you have all the columnists come in. Then you have all the local TV. So there had to be 25, 30, people in front of you, like holy shit, Yeah. But we had a PR guy, Jay Horowitz, who's great. So he kind of takes you along and helps you out. If he feels if you guys answer me questions and it's out of line or something, he'll step in and say, okay, that's it. That's it. But he always said, you have a good game or a bad game, make sure you're in front of your locker because that's the way they'll treat you. They'll respect you. Mm-hmm. Because if you have a bad game, in fact, the pitching coach for the Rangers, Mike Maddox, pitched for the Mets, and he used to have good games. He'd stand in front of his lockers. Bad games, you wouldn't even see him. He'd just go. So, and the poison pen, that's what they call it. I remember I had a writer told me when I first got traded, he said, be nice, I can make or break you in this city. And I was like, the fuck's he talking about? And then I realized, because they could write and everybody believes what they write.
Yeah, but not only the media, but also dealing with family and friends. I'm sure people always asking you for tickets now. Yeah. Like if you're in Cincinnati.
So it's funny, because back then when I used to come in with Cincinnati, we're allowed 6 tickets, 4 family and 2 friends. Okay. So when I come in, I would say Carmine wasn't from New York. I said Carmine would give me his tickets, and then you would give me your tickets, and you would give me. So I had like guys who weren't here using their tickets, so I would have 80 tickets. And then when I went to the town that they were in, they could use my tickets. Okay. So I would have
makes sense
80-something tickets a game. And I left the one before my father died. My father was in charge of some, and then my wife was in charge of them. I had 2 lines in my house, one for family and one for friends. And when that line went up, I knew it was for friends, so my wife would handle that. And it was like funny because some friends would get mad because they were sitting like, some people were sitting. No. Loads of box seats, and then the next level up, which are good seats too. They get fucking mad about that.
300s.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? Don't come then. Yeah. Don't come. I put my brother in the mezzanine section.
They probably just want to sit in the dugout with you. That's why.
Yeah, he wants to.
So look, now we're in the dugout.
I gave up a game-winning home run to Darryl Strawberry. I think I told you this story. I gave up a game-winning home run to Darryl Strawberry. The next day there was a strawberry shortcake in front,
Oh
of,
my God.
in front of my door.
Troll.
It was from my brother.
Wait, what? Strawberry was with
The
Yankees?
Mets, with the Mets. When I
Oh,
was
when
with
you were on the
Cincinnati.
Reds.
Yeah.
Oh, you were on the Reds.
And so I said, okay, cool.
Strawberry
So I left tickets for my brother the next day. He was sitting in the mezzanine section.
I got to ask you, how's the Italian food in Cincinnati?
Well, I'm trying to think if there was an Italian place.
That's why I asked.
No, there was a place called La Rosa's Pizza, which was very good. But it was mostly like a steak, meat, potato town. They had good steakhouses there, which is really good.
Did you live there when you played there?
I lived there just for the season. I tried to live there for the whole season.
little as
off
you can.
season. I stood there. I made it up to right before Thanksgiving, but every day was just gloomy and gray. Sundays were football, which was great, but otherwise, I said I'm coming back home. So that was, my wife. When I got married, I was there, 84, 85, 86, and part of 84, 85, 86 single. So I was in Cincinnati, and then I got married. My wife came like for a couple of months, that was it, and then got traded.
Now, what do trades do? What did they do to you mentally? Were you still like?
Well, the first time I got traded, I was in Albuquerque. I was with the Dodgers in AAA, and we had a manager named Del Crandall, who was an old military guy, and he was a son of a bitch. And I was in the bullpen, and it was hot, and I had my hat off, taking the sun, and the guy next to me, Brett Wise, who got traded, also had his hat off. And Brent Strom, who was the pitching coach for the Arizona now, he was pitching coach for the Astros when they won too. He's been around a long time. He was our pitching coach, so after the game, he came in and said, hey, Del wants to see you guys in the office. And I was like, oh, shit. And he saw us with our hats off. He's going to give us a bunch of shit. So we sat down like this. He was there. And he says, well, I'm not going to tell you guys. You guys been traded to Cincinnati. Nice knowing you. And that was it.
Nice.
So you're like,
It's a business, man.
like, yeah, it's like, and I thought I was progressing because I was a starting pitcher with the Dodgers at the time. And I went from A to AAA and back to AA, then to AAA. I thought maybe I had a chance, getting in the big leagues. And I'll never forget, I called home. It was on Mother's Day I got traded. And my mom answered the phone and said, hey, happy Mother's Day, I've been traded. So I was like, okay. And then my dad and my brother were great because my brother was real into statistics and teams and all that, Bill. And he looked up to Cincinnati. Okay, they only got 2 left-handers. You're going to be a perfect spot for you. So I went from Albuquerque. I met the team in Denver, and their hometown was in Indianapolis. So I was in Indianapolis for a little bit. And then that was 83. And then 84 in April, I was in the big leagues. So it worked out that good. And then I got traded the second time. It's like you said, it's a business. Once you can't take it personal. Like my dad told me, he said, listen, one team didn't want you, but this team wants you. So you make the best of it. And that's what I did.
When you started playing for the Mets, I was talking to Carmine. By the way, thank you, Carmine, for setting this all up.
Yeah, thanks.
Like I said, the first time we did it at Carmine's Pizzeria, and it's been a long time, and I felt we had to redo this because we have so many more followers now. I think our setup's a little better. But I was looking for an old John Franco jersey, so I messaged my guy that always sells these old school jerseys, and he sends me a picture of Franco 31. And I thought it was like a Piazza day, like the whole team wears 31. He's like, no, he wore 31 before Piazza. Yeah. So I would love to hear how that happened. Like, what Rolex did he give you for the
I'm still waiting for that Rolex. That's for sure.
That's how it works usually, right?
Yeah, no. So Mike and I had the same agent, and at the time when Mike got traded, Mike was probably the top 5 player in the game. One of the top 5 players. He probably was top 5.
The player, as in
hitter, catcher,
yeah?
I thought he was, and to make him feel more comfortable and wanted here in New York, I said, you know what, I'll give up my number, and I'll take 45 because I grew up a Tug McGraw fan. So that's how that happened. And then Mike came, wound up staying at my house a couple of days, and then Leroy Neiman, the famous painted artist, Mike had him do a portrait of me.
Oh, wow.
So that was Mike's gift to me from giving up my number.
Did you guys hit it off right away?
Yeah, Mike. I knew Mike a long time. Like I said, we had the same agent, so I knew him we've been on. Our agents used to send us away every Super Bowl. Just fly, get that they buy the Super Bowl tickets, and there'd be about 20, 30 guys go to the Super Bowl for 4 days and just hang out and do crazy stuff.
That's nice. No, because I noticed too right after, and I don't know if this was a Mets thing or why, but right when you stopped playing for the Mets, I think they gave Pedro your number right away. And I was curious if that's a thing, maybe because Pedro was like, at that time, he just won the World Series with the Red Sox. And as a Mets fan, it was a big deal when we got Pedro. But I don't understand why they gave your number 45 away. It makes me wonder, like before I was thinking about doing this interview with you, and I realized that you wore 31 more years than you wore 45. Mm-hmm. If you had the same number the whole time, it would have been like harder to take it away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know. You know, Pedro wore 45 with Boston, I believe.
Yes, he did.
That was his number there. And, you know, Pedro's a great pitcher, Hall of Fame pitcher, obviously. Mm-hmm. And just, I guess, to make him feel comfortable. I mean, I have nothing to do with the clubhouse guy who gives out the numbers and so on. So when I got called up to the big leagues, I had 31 in my locker. I don't care if I had 101, as long as I was in the big leagues. So
you didn't really have like a important number that you played with your whole year?
No, I mean 31 was my number all the way until the Mets.
So it was always
from Cincinnati for 6 years, then the Mets for 8 years, and then when Mike came, I decided to give it up, but I could have kept it because I had more time than Mike. I had more, I had more years than Mike in the big league. So
I mean, Pedro's not with the Mets anymore. They should retire that number. No,
well, that's from your mouth to God's ears. Yeah. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I know they're retiring.
We have a good owner now. I think he should do the right thing. That 45 will look nice up there.
Yeah, I think it'll look nice. I think we'll see what happens. I mean, I know they're doing Doc and Darryl this year, and they have some. There's a committee of.
So that means you're coming soon. If they're starting at 86.
I think what they did was they went from like Jerry Kuzman, 69. They're going eras, so the 80s, 90s. So
it's only a matter of time till
maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm sure David Wright will be up there soon.
Yeah.
Up there too.
Well, he's another one that's well deserved.
Yeah.
How was that 2000 Subway Series? Or that whole run was pretty crazy.
Yeah, the whole run was great because we kind of got in there when I think it was the Cubs. Somebody on the Cubs dropped a fly ball in the outfield, and
Oh, you mean with the Berman thing with the?
No, it was like the last day. I think it was 80, maybe 99. It was, but in 2000, I got my years mixed up. But in 2000, the run was good because nobody gave us a chance. We got in the wild card, and then we had to go play the Giants out in San Francisco. And, first game, we had them, but then they came back and beat us. And then the second game, we were winning 3-1 going into the ninth, and that's when JT Snow hit a pinch hit home run against Armando Benitez. And I was a setup man because I hurt my finger. I tore ligaments in my finger, so they put me in as a setup guy, which that was fine. And then Armando went back out in the 10th, I believe, and got into a little trouble, and they brought me in. And I got out of a jam where man on first with nobody out. And one guy, I forgot who it was, a kid named Rijos, I believe it was, bunted, moved the man to second. So I was one out. Next guy up was a shortstop, Bill Mueller, hit a one hopper to shortstop, and Rijos was on second, so he tried to make third. They threw him out at third, so it was great. So we had 1 out, 2 outs, man at first, and I had to face Barry Bonds. And Barry and I, again, we had the same agents. And Barry and I had some battles through the years. Never hit a home run off me. He always told me when he does, he's going to run around the bases backwards. And I used to screw.
I mean, a guy like that saying that's special, though.
And I used to screw with his head. I said, I don't know how I ever get you out. You're the greatest player ever, blah, 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 this and that. And Mike was catching, and Barry came up. First pitch ball, second pitch ball, next pitch was a strike. 2-2 pitch, he fouled straight back. That if he would have hit it, probably would have landed in Oakland. Then it went 3-2, and Mike was putting fastball down, and I said, no, fastball. And I said, no, like 3 or 4 times. And that's in the back of my mind, because all the years I faced Barry, I never threw him a changeup. I used to throw him fastball in, away, or cutters, or sliders. And I always remember John Oru, the first baseman that we had, was a great left-handed hitter. And I always asked him, what's the hardest pitch for you to hit against a lefty? And he said, a changeup. And I said, why? And he said, because they never throw it, so I never see it. So I just, in that particular moment, in my head, I said, let me throw him a changeup. If I walk him, I walk him. I threw him a 3-2 changeup, and he stood there looking at it. Strike 3, game was over. We're doing the press stuff and everything, and Barry and I passed each other in the hallway. He said, you know that was a ball. I said, what the umpire called? He says, a strike. It's a goddamn strike in my book.
Was it a ball?
Well, it's a strike in my book. We can look it up right now.
It's a strike in my
I'll
book.
take it to the grave.
You know, there was a time before that Subway World Series where I was a Met fan and a Yankee fan. But during that year, my uncle, who actually looks like you, my uncle Kono Mazda, does he not look like him?
Oh, yeah. a little
I remember growing
Good-looking
up.
son of a gun, huh?
Yeah, but he had the same mustache as you. After the pod, I'll show you a picture. But I'll never forget that we got like tickets to Mets versus Giants, and Barry Bonds was the biggest thing. Like he was hitting like a zillion home runs. Everybody was walking at him.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, was he the most difficult batter you ever had to face?
No.
Who was the most difficult?
Tony Gwynn, hands down.
Really?
Tony Gwynn was a pain in the ass.
Because he didn't strike out a lot, right?
Didn't strike out when I came to Cincinnati. Tony Gwynn. So when I was in Cincinnati, we were in the Western Division.
So you played him a lot.
So we played him a lot. And face him, try to throw him a fastball away, hit a base hit to left, fastball in, slider up the middle, whatever. Finally, I got to the point where I said, I'm just going to throw it down the middle. Hopefully, he hits a line drive at somebody and get out. That's how I faced. That's how I was.
Crazy, yeah.
He was tough out.
I saw a crazy statistic. Like he only struck out like 20 times a year or something.
When he passed away, they showed a statistic on ESPN, I believe, the top 5 batting averages, and it was like Maddox, Glavine, blah blah blah, me. So I was in pretty good company.
It's amazing company.
Yeah.
But who was a player that had your number? Like, aside from Gwynn, that, he
Gave you a tough time.
Yeah, he gave you,
Hey,
he did some damage.
You guys are probably gonna laugh. It's Mariano Duncan.
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know Mariano. Yeah.
Mariano Duncan was a second baseman for the Phillies, the Dodgers. He came up with the Dodgers when I was there. Who else was he? Was with
Won the World
Yankees.
Series in '96
Yeah.
with the Yankees. A
So-
big time Philly guy.
Yeah. He was a guy that, and another guy in the Chicago Cubs named Bob Denier. Real contact hitters. I never had problems with the
power guy, right?
Bob Denier was a center field of contact guy. Never had problem with the power hitters because I had my changeup was, I could tell you it's coming and you wouldn't hit it. That's how much confidence I had in that. So it was the contact guys. Mariano Duncan was like, what a pain in the ass he was. And then later on in my career, a guy named Glenn Allen Hill. If he pinch hit against me, he's got about 3 or 4 home runs against me, pinch hit. And I never forget,
Wow.
in Chicago, I had a 3-0 count on him, and he hit one.
The Cubs, right?
Yeah, he hit one halfway up the green
My God.
monster in center field against me.
How does a pitcher feel about that? 3-0 and a batter swinging? Like, it's part of the game. But
Yeah.
That's like bluffing so bad in poker. And all of a sudden.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most teams, most guys take that time, but in those situations, a pinch hitter, he's up there trying to hit. So that's what he did. Got me a few times.
I got to ask you a question. You got to tell me if it's true or false. Is it true Steinbrenner brought the locker rooms from the Yankees
Yes.
into... Really?
The story is that when we played the Yankees, Steinbrenner came over and saw the visiting clubhouse at Shea Stadium. Didn't like it.
Was it that bad?
It was well. Shea Stadium was old,
was a
the
little
locker
Shanghai?
room. Yeah, it was Shingat, yes. And came over, saw it. Next day, had it all taken out. Bring all the stuff in from Yankee Stadium, the locker room, and he sat on the couch and watched the World Series games from the couch. And every guy that came in, he told him, "Let's beat these sons of bitches. Let's beat these sons of bitches," because he hated the Mets, and I guess ownership didn't like each other. So the visiting clubhouse guy would tell us this story how. He would just sit there.
Being on the team and you guys are hearing that this crazy owner is bringing his own furniture. What were you guys saying?
I have to tell you, all the years I played, and I love playing for the Mets. Fred Wilpon, the owner of the Mets, who I love dearly. He went to the same high school I went to. With the same Sandy Koufax went to the same high school. But Steinbrenner was a unique owner. He was an owner that did not care about nothing. All he cared about was winning. And he didn't care who was mad and who was. And as a player on an opposite team, I would have loved to have played for him. That's all he cares. And And you know, if you didn't do your job, he let you know.
He put his money where his mouth is.
Yeah,
I'll give him
yeah.
credit.
He, you know, if you didn't do your job, if you blew a couple saves, what the hell am I paying you for? Let's go, kick it in gear. You know, he was a great owner, great owner. So there's nothing, you know, everybody who played for him has nothing but nice things. You know, he took Darryl over and Doc over after they had some issues, gave them second out chances.
And they won too.
Yeah. He's a great owner.
Why do you think the Mets lost that series? Because you got the only win.
Yeah.
Do you think they should have put you in earlier or something?
Every game.
Fifth inning, throw in.
Here's John Franco in the 4th.
You know, game 1 was a big game because we were winning in game 1.
Changed the whole World Series.
Not to say we would have won the World Series, but game 1 was big because we were winning. The big play obviously was Timo Perez did not run hard.
Yes.
Because
I
he
remember.
thought Todd Zeal's ball was a home run. And typical Yankee magic that we say, you know, Yankee magic hit on top of the fence and bounced back instead of bouncing over.
Yeah.
And then it bounced right to, I think Dave Justice was in left field, and he made a perfect throw to Jeter. And Timo got thrown out at home. If he wasn't jumping and celebrating, you know, that would have been the 4th run. So we went up 4-1 instead of 3-1. So, but you know, I came in the game in the 8th inning. I faced Jeter, got a bloop single off me. I popped up Justice, Bernie Williams, I believe I faced. I forgot the third guys. So all 3 guys, I got them out, got out of it, and then Benitez came in. He did his job, and then it was Turk Wendell, I think, gave up the game-winning hit against another ex-Met, Jose Vizcaino. Got the game-winning hit in game 1.
That World Series could have easily changed. Like you said, game 1 was huge.
Game 1 was big because nobody really gave us a fighting chance because the Yankees, I mean, let's face
That
it.
was a Yankee dynasty.
The Yankees were, their lineup was really.
And then all of that. Then the next day, you guys were down like 6-0.
Yeah.
You came back. I think we made it 6-5. So
Yeah.
if you win that game 1, you don't even know what could happen in game 2.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's
Well, you always want to
and
split.
then you're going home after that.
Yeah, you always want to split on the road.
Yeah.
If you can, and you know, we had a good shot, and then you know with the Clemens
Piazza
stuff.
I was just going to bring that up too. How was living in that?
It was great.
Then, like-
I thought it was great. You know, the whole World Series, the Mets Yankees was great. I mean, if I had to tell you, it was great. I think if we didn't have the Interleague, it would have been even more crazier.
Because he threw the bat at Piazza and Interleague. It wasn't during the World Series, right?
No, I believe it was the World Series.
Oh, it was the World Series.
Yeah. I
So
thought
you like interleague play or you don't like interleague?
No, what I'm saying is that if we didn't have the Interleague play and then we meet in the World Series,
Yeah.
Been more hype.
it would have been more hype.
Yeah.
I mean, the city shut down as it is between both
Right.
teams, but if there was no Interleague play, the hype would have been crazy.
Was that the first time in history that they both matched up in the
Yankees? Yeah.
First, probably in the last.
Yeah.
Because the Mets were 86 and the Yankees had the dynasty
In the 90s.
in the 90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, we made it to 2000 World Series and 2015.
2015, yeah.
So my thing is always every 15 years the Mets are in the World Series.
I'm curious. You know where I can get a fresh quality pizza with the freshest ingredients? I'm talking like homemade dough, pecorino romano grated in-house.
Of course.
Where?
Because Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza and Wings. That coal fire is at the heart of who they are.
Oh, they're that spot that's located all in the Northeast, and they have a bunch in Florida, right?
Yep.
Man, I love when you have a good recommendation for once.
Crispy, crunchy, savory, and sweet. Order what you want on Uber Eats.
Listen, guys, from now till the end of the year, December 31st, on the Uber Eats app, you go to Anthony and Sampanini shop, and you get a nice $25 off.
When you use the code Panini.
You got to use the code Panini.
Terms apply. See app for details. We're very excited to announce a long-term partnership with the Soto Gastronomia out from Australia. These guys got a really, really interesting restaurant concept where all their profits go to all these Italian charities.
DeSoto has a very interesting story. So they're first generation Italian Australians.
They're basically us in Australia.
DeSoto was created in their parents' and grandparents' honor so that they can pay their legacy forward. 100% of their proceeds goes to people in need, charities, and the arts.
DeSoto will be supporting us this year, so you know the content's going to be even better.
Bro, and who knows, maybe at some point we're going to have to take a trip down under, huh?
I was always curious how the Italian Australians made food.
It's time we find out.
Because the way I look at baseball now is I don't see it as I don't want to say fun, but as entertaining as it was in your years. How do you feel about the sport today?
Well, I think I agree with you in somewhat because I think the new analytics and the sabermetrics and all that stuff has taken away
Too much
from
of
the
that.
game. Too much of
Yeah,
it.
way
Do
too
you
much.
like the pitch clock?
The pitch clock never bothered me. I wouldn't mind that. That don't mind me. Especially like when we had Sid Fernandez and Steve Traxel pitching. There was like human rain delays. You know?
Pack a lunch.
Yeah, if we had them on getaway day, it was terrible.
Steve Traxel, you go have dinner, lunch, come back, you still got thrown
Oh,
on
he
the
was the worst.
No, by far.
I went to a 4.5 hour game that Steve Traxel
That's
pitched.
crazy.
Yeah,
man.
so I mean, the pitch clock I think is great. The shift I don't like because the problem with the shift with me, especially now, if I'm facing a lefty,
yeah.
lefty against lefty, most left-handed hitters are low ball hitters down, and now you're playing into their power. And I always used to pitch lefties away. If somebody hits a home run to left field, a lefty against me, I'm going to tip my hat because that's a pretty good job. So if I'm pitching away and the shortstop behind second base and shortstop is wide open, the guy gets a base hit through it, I'm going to be pissed off about
You
that.
should have been there.
Yeah. So I don't like the shift. I think the
The 10th inning rule? How do you feel?
10th inning
is that out or
rule-
still in?
That's it.
that's
It's
still,
still in?
The
What's
10th
What's the
inning
strength
rule.
inning?
They start on
Man
second
man on
base.
second. They start with a man on second if the game is
You didn't
tied.
realize that?
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think they should do that in the 11th inning. Give one extra inning of regular play.
Yeah.
They do not have it during the playoffs, which is good.
Yeah, that I like.
But you know, I think
Why?
one extra
That's
inning of it
so
would be great.
Yeah,
unnecessary.
I don't like it because the fact, like, if I'm coming in, the game's tied, and the man on second, you know, you bump them over, a fly ball. Which,
Right,
first of all,
right.
there's no more bunting because the analytics say you can't bunt. So if you
So they
bunt,
just put a pinch runner on second?
so the guy who made the last out in the previous inning,
That's
he's
interesting.
on second base.
Also, you're not pitching from the windup anymore. You got to go
Well,
right
I
to
always
the
pitch
stretch.
from the stretch. So
Oh, you always did that?
Yeah, because I always felt like I might be put in the game.
Yeah.
Early in my career, I was in the
In a
windup.
crucial situation.
Later in my career, I went to the stretch.
Yeah. So what's it like? Bases loaded, 8th inning. All right, John's coming in. What's going
How
through
many
your
outs?
mind? 2 outs.
Don't fuck up.
Throw strikes.
Strikes.
This basically, you know, this try not to give in. You know, not give in. My special pitch was my changeup, and I'll throw 3, 4 in a row as possible. You know, just to get a guy. But you know, I wasn't really a strikeout pitcher. I mean, early in my career, I was 93, 94 miles an hour. As later on in my career, I was probably about 92 to 88. And my changeup was around 84 miles an hour. So, but in the bases loaded, it's like, okay, don't mess up. Hopefully you can strike somebody out or pop it up or something like that. You know, bases loaded with nobody out, that's when you have to do a little bit more work. And I'll never forget, I had a bases loaded with nobody out against the Marlins, and first guy I faced hit a ground ball back to me. So
Went home.
went home, I shot put it. It was like, poof, bounced it at home. You're like, you know, you want to make sure it was a good throw. Mike made a nice play at home play. So, you know, you just try not to mess up, you know. And even early in my career, when I was talking with Tom Hume, who, you know, just taught me everything about visualize where you want to put the ball, think about it. Always say, you know, when I'm facing a left-handed hitter, like an Andre Dawson or something, don't let them extend their arms. You know, if you're going to get it in there, get it in there. Don't let them extend their arms. And that's basically what I did. So it was great.
So you were a Met during 9/11.
Yeah.
Explain what that was like, because you know, I was 11 years old when that happened, so I remember what it meant for baseball to come back, especially at those times. And I remember Piazza's home run was like one of the most glorious moments in Mets history. So being a player, like, could you tell us what it was like in the locker room?
So I'll tell you the story leading up to. So obviously 9/11 happened. That day we were supposed to have a union meeting in Pittsburgh. And Don Fear, who was our union leader, was supposed to, he was in Pittsburgh. And I was one of the union reps. So he called me up in the morning and he said, hey, I got to go back to New York. A plane just hit the Freedom, the Trade Center, World Trade Center. So I didn't mean not thinking anything. I just thought maybe it was a small plane. So then you turn the news on, you see it was a jet. And then I was calling home and talked to my wife. And then another jet hit. I was like, oh, this is bad. And then a plane went down outside of Pittsburgh. So we,
Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, right outside of Pittsburgh. So we were staying in a hotel right next to a federal building. So right away, you know, baseball was canceled. They told us to get out of the hotel, and they put us in a hotel up in the mountains, the Allegheny Mountains, somewhere for like 3 or 4 days because they thought that they were trying to hit all federal, you know, properties and buildings and stuff. So we were up in the mountains for like 3 days, not knowing when to come back, not knowing. Finally, we got the okay to come back, and we bussed back for 8 hours. When we got over the GW Bridge, everybody on the left side of the bus went over to the right because it was dark, and all you saw were the spotlights and the smoke from Ground Zero. And you could hear a pin drop from the GW all the way to Shea Stadium.
Were you guys like very scared to fly also at that time?
Well, we weren't. We couldn't fly. Everything was shut down.
How long was it shut down for?
Up until the 17th, 18th,
That's crazy.
the 16th.
That's just crazy to think of, man.
I think baseball took a break for about 7 days.
Yeah, so
I think-
it was
yeah.
about 7 or 8 days because we flew back to Pittsburgh to play. And I remember because it was on my birthday. We went back on September 17th, so we were there on the 16th and 17th. I wound up getting a win and a save in a doubleheader against Pittsburgh. So that's how I remember that. Wow. But coming back, you can hear a pin drop, nothing. Then when we played the first game back at Shea Stadium, it was totally different. Like, you come in, there's cops everywhere, right? Police. You pull into the players' lot, and they had the bomb-sniffing dogs, sniffing your car, everything. You go in, there's about 10 cops in the tunnel. As you're walking in, they had snipers all on the roofs of the stadium. As you get into the locker room,
Scary.
Crazy
they had
times.
the bomb-sniffing dogs going in the locker room. And to show how great that unbelievable how these dogs are, they're sent. Turk Wendell went up to one of the police officers and said, hey, how good is this? You know, the guy said, I'll show you. Put the dog out in the hallway, got it, like he had like some gunpowder or something, and put it in Turk's locker. Took the dog off the leash, the dog went all around the locker room, sat right in front of Turk's locker, smelled it right out. Wow. So we felt pretty safe about that, you know. But it was different because we had cops in the tunnel, cops in the locker room, cops in the bullpen, and then obviously the ceremonies were great. Liza Minnelli was in the tunnel dancing and singing. And then, you know, once Mike hit the home run, I think was, I feel it was like a big relief because the stadium was so subdued. Like it was just packed, and you could see the flags and everything. But I was pretty freaking happy that he did because I would have got the loss. I gave up a run that game, and Mike hit the 2-run homer. So I was
Fist pumped it extra hard.
I was on the top of the step. But when he hit that home run, I mean, like you got chills. Your hair would stand up on your arms, and then you turn around to the crowd and just see everybody hugging, crying, cheering, chanting "USA, USA." Never forget there was a fireman who passed away. His wife was there with 3 of her sons, and they were at the game. It was really something special. And Bobby Valentine was a great leader at the time. He had a lot of friends who passed away in the tower at Cantor Fitzgerald. I had 2 friends in Cantor Fitzgerald, 2 fireman friends. My son's Little League coach was a fireman. He passed away. So it hit home, you know, it hit home to us. But Bobby was great. Bobby was leading the charge. You know, Shea Stadium was used as a recovery station. So we would go out there and we unload tractor trailers after our workouts. And every guy was out there. Nobody said no. I didn't have to go to say, hey, we need you out there. We were out there for 2 hours after workouts. We flew to Pittsburgh. Bobby stood back, and Bobby met us in Pittsburgh. And then we got to Pittsburgh. There were fans. We're with you, New York, all that stuff. It was great. It was good. The city and the country came together. Baseball brought us back together, you know.
Your father was a sanitation worker.
Yeah.
There's a famous story that you wore his shirt under your jersey.
Yeah.
How did that tradition start?
Well, my father was a sanitation worker. He had 6 months to go to retire, and he wound up having a massive heart attack while he was working.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
So
This was while you were with the Mets?
Cincinnati.
With Cincinnati, okay.
Yeah, he passed away. I lost my mom and dad 14 months apart.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's
So,
horrible.
I thought he was very special, very influential to my career. He talked me off a ledge a couple of times when I had some bad outings as a starter in the minor leagues. And I thought to honor him, why not wear his shirt? So I wore the same sanitation orange T-shirt for almost 22 years. Well, 87, from 1987 up until I passed away, until I retired. And it was funny because that shirt was, you know, just really thin. If you touch it, it start ripping. I had guys sewing it up. It was lost. I had the clubhouse guys looking for it. You guys got to find it. And I had that.
So it was your good luck charm.
Yeah, it's always him being with me. And I always, every summer, right before the season, I used to go to the grave of my mom and dad and get two pebbles and keep that in my locker. So I had a collection of pebbles for my mom and dad. And they were always with me.
You're a sentimental guy. I like that. And just imagine would have been like your dad to see you as a Met and be the player you were.
Yeah.
Which
the good thing, my mom and dad got to see me make it to the big leagues, which was good. So, I come in with Cincinnati, and they would come to the games and stuff like that. So, my mom always thought she was bad luck when the Little League, like, she wouldn't come to the Little League games because...
Superstitious?
Well, superstitious. If the other mothers were yelling at me, she wanted to fight them.
She get rowdy?
Typical mom.
Yeah, if it's not one thing, it's another.
And the one time she came to a game, I got hurt. I got hit in the eye. So she's like, yeah. So she's like, oh, bad luck. So... But my dad would go everywhere. My dad, when I was in college World Series, he drove from New York to Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, my God.
When I was in the minor leagues, he drove from New York to San Antonio, Texas, where I lived. Came to Indianapolis. He didn't like to fly, typical Italian.
That's classic, though.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fly. I'm going to drive 25 hours.
Yeah. So him and my brother would get in the car and they go, And my dad would, when I was a starter, he would cook spaghetti with garlic and oil for me.
Oh,
that was my pregame.
That's the best.
I love that.
Did you have a special pregame meal?
That was it right there when I was a starter.
Spaghetti with garlic and oil?
Yeah, I love that.
Now, the oil would make the bowl move a little more.
Yeah, I get the oil, put it back on my head.
That's an Italian way right there.
That's Italian sticky
Substance abuse is garlic oil. A question me and Rocco have is why isn't John Franco in the Hall of Fame?
That's a good question. I don't know.
The stats are up against anybody. I'll put your stats up.
Let's do this. 90 wins, 87 losses, 424 saves. What is that
April
rank?
24th saves.
Yeah, 424, April 24. Where does that rank among lefties?
Number one.
Yeah.
That alone.
Yeah, that alone. So you're the best lefty closer of all time.
In the history of baseball.
In stats. It's
Billy Wagner, who is behind me, has 422, and he'll probably be inducted into the Hall of Fame next year, which rightfully so. He's a very good relief pitcher. I believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I also believe I belong in the Hall of Fame.
I think you belong in the Hall of Fame too.
I have, Bruce Sutter, Gossids, Raleigh Fingers. They all have 300-plus saves, and they're in the Hall of Fame. Dennis Eckersley has 300 saves, but he also has 200 wins. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Can you explain to us a little bit
how
it works? Yeah, because I saw if you're less than 5%, you get off the ballot.
So I was off. I got 4.8 my first year on the ballot.
On the first year?
First year. So you need 5% to stay on. So I got 4.8. I'll never forget that night when they all came out, a writer from New York, I won't say who he is because he passed away and let him, God rest his soul, called me up and told me he didn't vote for me because he didn't believe in the save statistic. So maybe his vote would have kept me on,
That's crazy.
But writers all around the country, you have to have a certain amount of time with the Baseball Writers Association to be able to submit your votes. So someone in Seattle probably never saw me pitch, and someone here or there never saw me pitch. So.
Yeah, but then they shouldn't be part of that.
Exactly.
Not to be rude.
So I feel like the Hall of Fame players, executives, anyone who is an executive in baseball should be the ones voting for the players to get into the Hall of Fame, not the writers. Because, look, Mariano Rivera, right? Hands down, should have been 100%. Somebody didn't like him, they didn't vote for him. Yeah. Tom Seaver, another one. Somebody didn't like Tom Seaver, they didn't vote for him, so he got 98% instead of 100%. Yeah. So you have writers who are hold vendettas and
Is there a fighting chance though?
I was on the Veterans Committee, I believe, last year. I was supposed to there were 16 names on it, and then 2 months before that, they decided to change the committee to a modern era contemporary, and they took 16 guys, they threw 8 off, and they kept 8 on. And I was the one that they took off. Myself, Keith Hernandez, Lou Whitaker from the Tigers. And then they kept all what I call the steroid guys on. And that's Fred McGriff, I believe, made it from that, which rightfully so. Fred McGriff's not a steroid guy. Good ball player. He deserved to be on it too.
Yeah. John, I'm gonna have a little fun here. I'm gonna give you some statistics. You tell me if that player is a Hall of Famer or not, based on the statistics you hear. All right? Okay, so these are closers.
Okay.
All right, so this player, 47 wins, 40 losses, a 2.31 ERA, 422 saves, I feel like you already know who that
Billy
is.
Wagner. Yeah, he's definitely in. He should be in.
He should be in. But right now, as of 2024, he's not in.
He fell short. He got 70.
73%?
He was
Yeah.
a Mets closer for a little bit too.
Yeah, Billy. Listen, the difference between Billy and I. Billy was a power pitcher, and that's what I think held me back because I wasn't a power pitcher, and that's how. It's even more by my.
Billy was throwing 103.
Yeah, but that right there should get you in.
Well, that's what I'm
because
saying.
You have leading lefty
Right.
save of all time.
Yeah.
That's never going
I
to
also
happen
have-
again. Like, that's
I
not
also
gonna
If
have-
happen.
Billy gets in, shouldn't he get in? 'Cause
Well,
he has
that's
two-
what
Well,
they're
yeah,
that's what they're
thing,
saying.
so.
But I have to get in on a committee now. The committee has to vote for you, like the contemporary committee, which they have players and executives on that.
Should we go knock on their doors or something?
So I have, if you think about it, I have over 1,100 appearances, the most in the National League, 1,200 innings. I think it's most in the National League as a third or something as relievers in the National League. So do I think I deserve it? Absolutely, I deserve it. I deserve to be in there.
We definitely think you deserve it. And, you know, being Italian American helps too because you get that extra push from us. So we're very prideful people.
Yeah,
If
I
we
mean,
were on that board, it would have been 100.
Hopefully we can get a big push from all everybody.
So I'm going to give you another one.
We're gonna we gotta find out who we gotta get to and make them all send letters.
All right, so this player, 114 wins, 118 losses, 2.90 ERA, played in 944 games, 341 saves. Is that a Hall of Famer or not? What do you think?
Yes.
That's Hall of Fame worthy?
I think so.
That's Rolly Fingers stats. That was accurate. I'm going to give you one more. 68 wins, 71 losses, 2.83 ERA, 300 saves.
That's Gossett probably, no?
Bruce Sutter.
Yeah. So I knew one of those guys.
He's a Hall of Famer, too.
Bruce Sutter.
Oh, Suter, yeah.
Yeah.
Did he start too, or he was just a closer?
I think he was a starter, but then he became a closer. He was a closer for the Cardinals and the Cubs. So see, but back in those days, back in the 300. So the magic number, right? So if you think about sports, baseball, obviously it's the 500 home runs, 300 wins, 3,000 hits.
400 saves.
Well, back in the day it was 300 saves. Now it's 400. Well, Mariano has 600. Mariano has 600 plus. Trevor Hoffman has 600 something. And you know, some people say when I played, I was a combiner. How do you say? I'm trying to say that. You pad your stats. So
You can't pad saves though.
Well,
if it was like
you could say because Phil Niekro, Don Sutton played a long time, and they got 300 wins. Yeah. So they combined. I can't even say it.
Stat padding?
Yeah, something like that. Combiner, or whatever it is. So that's what some people have said with me because I played a long time. But the last 3 years of my career, or the last 3.5 years of my career, I wasn't a closer. Right. So I missed in '96. I missed some time because I had a torn flexor tendon in my elbow, so I could have had some more saves then. And then in 2000, 2001, I had Tommy John surgery, but I wasn't a closer then. So, but
I think baseball, where it's going, is soon that guys that get the hold are going to be Hall of Famers because of how important that bridge is to the save. So
well,
that's
the game has changed too because now you have guys starting pitchers who are in there who have 250, 260 wins. Mike Messina, I believe, somewhere between 260, 270. So it's changed a lot. I think CC Sabathia now is up there now. He's eligible.
The one I'm getting into.
Yeah, so it's changed.
You're not going to get guys anymore with
300
300 wins,
No.
3,000 hits,
Let
let alone 300 saves, let
Right.
alone 400, 300 saves.
Right.
You're not going to get it because they're not going to play. They're just not going to. The analytics change it.
Right.
Everything changes. So that's more rightfully so. You should be in, and that's the issue. You're not second on the list, third on the list. You're first on the list as a lefty.
Right.
So to me,
Listen, before we start getting, I think we should get Carmine. You think he'll fit next to you?
Come on, Carmine.
Let's put.
We sat on a van and go in Italy one time. I'll tell you.
So you guys are very familiar.
We have a nice Italy story.
Use this. Come this way with it, Pick. Come this way with it.
This is the
Okay.
Rocco one.
That's okay.
Show's on the road.
is this Mario Bosco's camera? Microphone?
It was perfect for me, so yeah.
So look, do you feel like you're in Italy right now, since it's close to Carmine?
We had fun.
We've had some good.
There's no
trips
air
in Italy.
conditioner on, so it's about as close to Italy as you
No, it's
can.
fine. It's fine.
We had some guy thought I was a pickpocket or something.
So we were. I'll give you an Italy story. We were in Rome in Nettuno doing a baseball clinic. John came with the IABF to do a baseball clinic, a pitching clinic, and over like almost 200 kids. He did a phenomenal job. So our next clinic was going to be in Salerno, our roots. So we were taking the bus ride from Rome to Salerno. Major traffic, and we kind of like just pull over to these gas stations, right? Which are the best. Which are the best. And bad, just too much traffic. So we all stopped. Who had to go to the bathroom? Who had to eat? There's about 8 of us maybe in the van.
Yeah.
So we get out. I'm like, guys, listen, be careful. We're in Naples here. Like, just, and listen, Naples is great, but they could see us, right? We stand out maybe.
Yeah.
So I go to the bathroom. Another guy goes to eat. John goes to do whatever.
So
And
my wife too.
all of a sudden, I come back and we hear like, "Rah!" We hear screaming. And some guy goes up to John and goes, "You took my wallet." You took my wallet.
In
And John
Italian?
goes, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you took my wallet." And like this guy's got another lady next to him. And then they got a car with the door open. And John's like, "I didn't take your wallet. What are you? Yeah, you took my wallet. You took my wallet." So they were trying to set him up
Yeah.
to take his wallet.
Right.
And
It was the same guy because when I walked in the Autostrad grill, I was with my wife and she had her earrings on. So it was an older gentleman. He had these blue eyes and he's looking and he was staring at my wife. So I was just staring at him. And as we were walking around the place, and I see this other guy following me, and I said, "Well, maybe I thought he was like security or something, And I walked out. I get to the van, and the guy said to the Italian, because my wife understands it. She said, "Hey, you stole my wallet." And my wife said, "Oh, get the hell out of here!" And so I told my wife, "What did he say?" So I said, "Kid, get the fuck out of here! Get away!" I said, "If he comes next to me, I'm gonna fucking knock him out." So right away, they threw me in the van. And Carmine came out, and then we had our driver, the big, what's his name?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Pasquale or something, but we had these 2 guys that like kind of helped us out, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna call the carabinieri." And the guys were like, "No, it's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake." So everybody went their own way. 2 of our guys pop up later with friggin' arancini balls. "Oh, what's going on here?" This guy almost got into a brawl.
You're just missing all this shit.
Yeah, thanks for having our backs.
So this was during the IBF.
Yeah, this was one of our first
First ones,
clinics.
yeah, first
I'm
one.
gonna say going back 2018.
Yes. I would say.
2018.
So
and,
before we get into all IBF, how did you two meet?
through the IABF, I mean, I met John back at our first gala in 2016. Yeah. The gala used to be at the restaurant, in my restaurant. And John's been a supporter from the IABF from day one. I mean, from the get-go.
I have to tell you, man, this guy and Joe Quigliano, the way they started the IABF,
Amazing.
and how small it started and how much it's grown, they deserve so much credit. I mean, they do an amazing job.
And they're doing it all themselves. No
Passion,
major,
love.
No,
no major charities involved.
no
as
major
you guys.
sponsors.
No,
all
I
that
mean, we
stuff.
just, we depend on, donations, right? We depend on the gala. We depend on our events. And all our money goes to scholarships. We don't, we're nonprofit. So
And
whatever-
clinics, too, in Italy,
And clinics,
right?
yeah, clinics, college showcases. So whatever we make, we put right back in. We don't, we don't take any money for us. This
They do a
is
great-
just for the
they've done a-
foundation.
They've done a great job.
We've given over 60 scholarships already to girls softball as well, not just guys and kids in Italy that want to come here and play, get an education at the collegiate level, play. You never know who you might get one day, and also for the Italian Americans that are here in the States. So
I mean, it's important. It's so important to try to help out the
donations are key.
Italian American
That's-
kids.
How can someone support if they're watching this?
They can just go on IABF.foundation and make a donation. And like I said, everything is going to go to the scholarships, to the clinics.
We'll actually put that in the
$10
description.
Yeah.
We'll put the website in the description. You guys could go there, support it. Goes directly to scholarships.
And like Carmine said, I think the most important thing is for the kids. Because, at the dinner this year, we had 10 kids come up.
Yeah, no, we had 10 kids.
And they were up there. And it was one thing that was a little disappointing. It was too noisy for everybody to appreciate the kids that were up there so the kids could appreciate it. So this is all for the kids. I think we had a couple of kids from Italy come here to play that we brought in, which was great. And, it's it's continued to grow. It's grown from little restaurants,
Yeah, we
75
had 70
people,
people at a
To
gala the
catering
first
halls.
year.
to like over 400
And
now.
this year we had 450. So
Amazing.
You guys-
that's where we're working with. Like he was saying, it was a little noisy. So we went from like this to like just
Yeah.
in time. And he's been great to us. I mean, he's given us advice on how to grow and what to do.
And the players that they bring in and the managers, and Terry Francona, Torrey Ravello this year.
Girardi was there.
Girardi, we had Trey Mancini, Piazza.
Bobby Valentine. I mean, all guys, great, Italian heritage, Italian history.
And to hear their stories, like it always goes down to our roots, right?
Absolutely.
Our roots are so special. Like I know Italy, soccer is the number one, but there are places in Italy that they play baseball. Rome, Nettuno, Milan, Piacenza, Parma. Parma's big in baseball, especially girls softball.
The only thing different in Italy's baseball,
Their post game.
they're not even post game, during the game. They're bringing espresso and smoking cigarettes in the dugout.
Well, speaking of drinking espresso, the Italian baseball team this year went viral for having an espresso machine in the dugout.
Yep.
Well, you guys are directly a part of that too. You
We
there.
were there last year when they had the Mission Classic.
Amazing
in Italy.
run they had.
And they did a great job. I mean, this team was close. Like that game against Japan.
Yeah, they had a chance.
Might have been the most watched game ever in WBC history.
Yeah.
I don't know the views, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Ohtani was
nobody
definitely a
realized
reason for that, too.
they knocked Ohtani out of the game.
Yeah.
And maybe by inches, Miles Mastrobuoni almost tied up the game with a home run. So,
home run, yeah.
I mean, you're not talking about a regular player. You're talking about Shea Ohtani.
Right.
That's
And they
Best player in the world right now.
they had a pretty good team, Japan.
But I want you to talk about how this all started for you and Joe. Like, where did the passion come from?
I used to do the Yankee fantasy camps back in the day. And,
You still do, no?
No more now. And I used to see this guy, Joe, and I didn't think he was Italian. I'm like, who's this guy? Joe would never suit up. Joe was more of the business guy. You know? And I just got to know Joe through there and through social media. I'm like, hey, we should do something Italian-American baseball. And Frank Catalanato, which is also on our board. He's a co-founder as well. He's also the president manager of HOF'er University.
Awesome.
And Frank was into it. John was into it. We just started networking. Let's throw a dinner. Let's just throw a dinner. Like, we still didn't have a direction, right? And then we started talking about scholarships. And that's what you do.
That's what it's
Scholarships.
about.
That's what gets the young kids going.
Yeah.
So many
Opportunity.
kids
It's an
can play,
opportunity.
don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So why not help your heritage? Why not find the next John Franco?
Everybody else does.
Mike Piazza.
Us?
Why not find them?
Exactly.
Why not find
Do
them?
they have to be from Italy or can
So
it
they can be here at 25% Italian. They just have to be 25% Italian. People don't realize that Garrett Cole's Italian.
Yeah.
Justin Verlander's Italian. Andy Pettit's
I only know
Italian.
that because of you guys, by the way.
Nick Swish is
You
Italian.
guys post
They
all the random
have-
Italian.
Matt Harvey.
Matt Harvey's
Matt
Italian.
Harvey,
Matt
yeah.
Harvey's very big into his heritage.
I saw his grandfather was super zip. Like,
Yeah.
like our dads,
So, that's the thing here is to promote the game, to spread the game that we love so much, and obviously our heritage. Look what you guys do, right? Just understand this. You guys remember Mike and the Mad Dog, right? They set the tone for sports radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you guys set the tone for Italian American podcasts, all these influences. Again, we're going to bring up Mario Bosco, right? You guys gave him life. But in general, just all these music artists that you guys have, you've found so much talent. So realize the work that you guys have done.
Right, but
means
it's all for the greater good. Like supporting people like you guys, what you've done in your career, what you're building. You have a successful restaurant, you're a great entrepreneur, and you have a very successful foundation. So any way we can be part of it, and you know that already.
Well, we got to get this guy.
Yeah,
in
we
the
got to
Hall
get him in
of
the Hall of Fame. That's all I'm thinking about.
Fame.
right now.
I mean, if he didn't have numbers,
Is there a way we could make a petition or something? Get people to sign?
we're gonna work on some things. Definitely.
You got our support, whatever
Whatever.
you have our
Absolutely.
word.
I mean, he does. And listen, I'm not a Met fan.
We know that. We've been to your pizzeria. We know.
Yeah, me too. I know.
I'm not a Met fan, but I'm a baseball fan.
I walk out with a rash every time I stuff.
But, I mean, what's right is right? I mean, I just think that
Yeah, it's this.
the numbers don't lie.
It's just unfortunate that it happened back then, but now, hopefully with these new committees that they have,
You deserve that.
Yeah.
Your
Well,
career deserves that.
we'll see what happens. Hopefully, the people on the committee will realize it. And
Let's make some noise.
Absolutely.
These clips should stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said again, statistics speak. Right?
Well, let me ask you, Carl, I feel like you would know this. Are there any Italians in the Hall of Fame?
Well, yeah, I mean,
The
Joe
DiMaggio,
DiMaggio,
obviously.
Rizzuto, Lazare.
But I'm saying of recent years, besides Piazza.
Well, let me think now because that's
Craig Biggio.
Craig Biggio.
Oh, that's right.
Which is
That's
a
right.
Long Island native.
Oh, he's from Long Island?
Yeah,
Oh,
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Astros legend right
And
there.
his son plays on the Blue Jays.
Right.
Oh,
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, I got a question for you guys. Top 5 Italian American baseball players of all time.
I'm gonna go and then he can go because I'm gonna say John first. All right? John's my
He's
man.
your number one?
John
I'm gonna say
Franco,
John
John
Franco.
Franco, John Franco.
I'm gonna say
No
John
bias.
Franco. I'm gonna say Mike Piazza. I'm gonna say Joe DiMaggio. Like DiMaggio was like just, not probably the nicest guy, but just
You met him?
never met Joe
Joe
DiMaggio.
Torre.
But he's a little stingy.
Joe Torre.
About Yogi?
Yogi. I mean,
Yeah.
Yogi's numbers. Like if you see his numbers, they're
They're
just
crazy.
They're just
Crazy numbers.
ridiculous.
Isn't he like the Bill Russell of baseball? Like he has the most championships, I think?
Well, he's got 10
Yeah, he got
rings.
10 is
Henry.
crazy.
I do. Yogi has a golf.
Yeah.
Yogi, God rest his soul, passed away, but his Ron Guidry and Willie Randolph still carry on his golf outing.
Oh, that's good to
And
hear.
years ago, when Yogi was alive, I went to his golf outing a couple times, and the one year I couldn't make it, and I get a phone call, and I said, "Hello, John, it's Yogi. Hey, what's up, Yogi? I need you at the golf outing." Okay, I'll cancel where I'm going, Yogi. Yogi calls, you gotta go.
go.
So Yogi was great.
He had a lot of one-liners. Like I always see like crazy quotes from him.
He had a lot of, but he was. I'll tell you what, baseball-wise, there wasn't none better than him. Clutch, he could hit, catch.
I think he was an underrated manager too.
Yeah,
Even with the Mets, I think he made the World Series.
73.
And just underrated, like just one of the best bad pitch hitters around in the
it's
game.
like Vladimir Guerrero Sr. was a bad pitch hitter.
Yes.
That guy.
And I think his numbers, like he's not the biggest guy.
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Small guy.
Yeah.
Just from the hill, from St. Louis.
That's it.
And he was not born in Italy. I think he was first generation.
First generation, yeah.
But
So
his
let me.
I did hear he was from the Hill.
Yeah, the hill
St.
was
Louis.
pretty good.
That's Richmond Hill?
No,
St. Louis.
So
Or you could go
Village.
to Federal Hill in Providence.
Which is nice too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Well, let me ask you guys, and whoever wants to go first, top 5 current Italian
Like that.
baseball players.
Carmine's gonna say Anthony Rizzo.
I gotta say,
Volpe for sure.
I gotta say Volpe first. Anthony Volpe.
No, that's your guy.
Oh,
You know what
Yeah.
though? You gotta say Nemo because he's been at
Nemo.
your galas.
Yeah. Rizzo, like he's really into the heritage,
Yeah.
and hopefully we can get Rizzo because we've been dying to honor him at our gala because Rizzo.
Yeah, so Anthony, if you're watching, we need you at the gala this year.
Yeah,
Come
There
on.
we go.
And bring a booster too. You know? Gotta give some scholarships.
Give me 2 more.
Come make a drop. But yeah, no, Rizzo, Nemo, Volpe,
Pasquantino.
Vinny Pasquantino's
Vinny,
a hell of a
Vinny,
guy.
yeah.
I'll tell you, an underrated guy, and the name changed it. Nicky Lopez.
Yes.
Nicky
He had a great World WBC.
He's
and
killing
he
it right now in
is
spring training.
He's on the White Sox now, which is good because a friend of mine is the hitting coach for the White Sox. So I'm hoping to catch up with Nicky Lopez. But Nicky is so into his heritage, phenomenal player. He had a tough situation in Kansas City. When I say tough, Bobby Witt Jr.'s
Yeah, it's not going nowhere.
right.
now.
So he
The best thing for him to get
was
traded.
to get traded.
Yeah.
So and he was on the Braves for the playoff run, but now he's on the White Sox.
Doing
Into his
amazing.
heritage, phenomenal WBC. Another kid too, Miles Mastrobuoni. He's on the Cubs. Miles had a good WBC
He
as
just hit a
well.
home run the other day, I think, or yesterday. I think I saw.
He just hit a home run yesterday. And
yeah.
one guy, if you guys really want to keep an eye on, he's on the Milwaukee Brewers, is Sal Frelick.
Oh, Freelick, yeah.
This
yeah,
kid's
He
this
was
kid,
on the team too.
yeah.
yeah. Who's the one on the D-backs? Nice hair.
No, the one. So he got
Nice
traded.
hair.
So he got.
He was
traded.
going like this.
There's 2 brothers.
Yes.
Dominic
yes.
and
The last name.
Fletcher. The
Fletcher,
brothers.
the Fletcher brothers.
So
yeah,
Dominic
yeah.
just got traded to the White Sox with
with Nicky. too?
Nicky, and Dominic is going to be a phenomenal player.
Yeah, he's
There just was no room for him in Arizona because Arizona's stacked.
Stacked up, yeah.
And again, Torey Lavulo, you met Torey, great manager, former Yankee too.
Yeah.
Smart guy, knows the game. He's going to get his World Series. He's not going to get it this year because the Yankees are going to get it, but he's going to get it eventually. But Torey's great. We have so many Italian Americans, and again, this guy set the tone,
Yeah.
you know, and there's so many more to follow. So.
He believed in you guys from the start.
I believe in the heritage. You know, I think it's important to give back. I mean, I always like to give back. You know, so
That's great.
When I grew up in Brooklyn, lived in Staten Island. I did charity bowling events where everybody could bowl for March of Dimes. Heart Foundation. I raised almost $3 million in like 3 years for them. So with the Met support, so it was great. I always try to give back, and I try to tell the current players when you talk to them, you know, when you wear this, you represent the Mets, and you also represent the community. So, you know, and they do a good job.
Mets are good, especially now with new ownership. These guys seem like, you know, they're bringing back. You know, they brought back Old Timers Day, right?
Yeah.
So they're doing
A lot of little things that mean a lot.
the old Tom Seaver statue outside was pretty sweet.
That was a long time coming.
Yeah,
That
you were there for that ceremony.
Yeah,
right?
that should have been way 15 years ago.
Now let's have a little more fun now. Mets record at the end of the year.
You're on camera, so be careful.
Are
Realistically,
we gonna be 500 at least?
Hopefully 500. I mean, it all comes down to pitching. You know, if they're starting pitching, their rotation.
You got Luis Severino.
freaking guy.
Keep him.
Keep those comments to myself. No, it all comes down to pitching. You know, I think Alonso's going to hit his 40-plus home runs. Lindor's a good player.
Hopefully we have our closer back this year.
Well, he's back, so
Sugar.
that closes the game a little bit. But everybody else got to step up. You know, your big time players like Alonso, Lindor, Sterling Marte's got to be healthy. Nimmo had a good year last year.
Good player.
Jeff McNeil hopefully he comes back and hits like he's going to lead the league in hitting. So those guys got to step up. And,
Alvarez, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need those guys to step up, and they step up. Hopefully it'll be. They're in a tough division.
Playoff contention, you think?
Everybody's in the playoffs right now.
I don't think so.
Well,
Not
I don't
this
think
year.
you have an owner that's not scared to make a
Right.
trade.
I think
even
at the time, if they're in contention during the trading deadline, I think they'll go out and make a trade. Obviously, we have a new baseball operations guy, general manager, Stearns.
Yeah.
So
It seems like he watched Moneyball a lot. That athletics movie. Carmine, what's going to be the Yankees record end of the year?
The Yankees definitely winning 100 games.
Yeah?
This team is
How
stout.
many home runs does Aaron Judge have?
I think Aaron will get like 48, 49.
Can we see you in one of the pictures?
Well,
But-
that's happened in the past. But I just alone, Volpe, you're going to really start to see
This is the year.
This is the year.
Right.
There's got to be
You're
the
he's
year.
having a good spring.
Yeah,
too.
you're going to see this kid.
Cut his swing down, flatten it out.
That's another thing. Both of our teams shouldn't give up on their players so quick. One
But
slow year.
I think it's just New York City, right?
Yeah. It's
New
it's
York
the
is
press.
so
It's the
passionate.
press.
It's the media. The media destroys you. I remember, like I said again, I wasn't a Met fan, right? But I always saw him pitch. And if he had a bad outing, he never ran away. He stayed at his locker, answered the questions, and then the next day he came back and did what he had to do. And I always saw that. That's the difference between a New Yorker and someone that can't handle it. He can handle the city.
Right.
That alone, that stuff that should be on your resume as a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
He didn't run away from questions. He didn't. I mean, New York sucks at times. You know what I'm saying? It's like the
It's a
hardest-
tough time. There's a lot of players. I remember Greg Biggio was a free agent, and I had asked him if we were on Nike would send us away on golf outings, and he was there. And I said, "Hey, why don't you come play for the Mets?" He says, "I don't want to deal with the media. A lot of guys don't want to deal with the press here." You know,
And the taxes.
That's another thing. Well, Florida has no state tax.
Yeah.
Right? That's another.
And Texas.
That's for another day.
That's baseball analytics 101. But listen, guys, John Franco Hall of Fame.
Let's make it happen, baby.
Make some
Let's make it
donations to
happen.
IABF.
Absolutely.
Everything's going to be in our description. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. The Mets are going to win 90 games this year.
Let's go.
There you go.
Let's go.
Let's go Mets.
Come on, just make sure you cut that out.
Let's get it. I'll text Sabino later.